She said it so calmly. We were at dinner. Good restaurant, nice table, the kind of evening that starts as one thing and ends as something else entirely. She had been building to this moment for most of the meal. I could feel it the way you feel weather changing. She smiled. Not unkindly, the specific smile of someone who has already made their own decision and is now handing the weight of the moment to you, and she said, "It's your choice, I mean that. I'm not angry, but I need your answer tonight." I looked at her. I looked at the table. The dessert menus were sitting unopened at the edge of my place setting. I stood up. Not to leave, not in anger, not because I had nothing to say. I stood up because I suddenly knew the answer so completely that I couldn't sit still inside it. My name is Liam. I'm 43. My wife Julia and I have been married 11 years. I need to tell you what the question was because without it, the evening doesn't make sense. 2 months before that dinner, I had been offered a position that would change our life. A serious one. The kind of opportunity that arrives once, that you either take or spend the rest of your career wondering about. It was a leadership role with a company based overseas. Not across town, not a flight away, genuinely abroad. The kind of abroad that means packing up a life and building a new one somewhere unfamiliar. I had been sitting with it for 2 months, not avoiding it. Sitting with it the way you sit with something that has two answers, and both of them are true, and neither of them is wrong. The job was real. The opportunity was real. The disruption to our life would also be real. Julia's career, which she had built carefully in this city over 8 years, our home, our daughter Maya's school, her friends, the specific world she'd constructed for herself at age 9. I had been sitting with it for 2 months, and Julia had been waiting for 2 months. And that evening, she had decided gracefully and firmly that the waiting was done. She had asked for this dinner specifically, not framed as a confrontation, framed as a conversation. One she'd said we needed to have somewhere that wasn't home, somewhere neither of us had the option of walking into another room. She had been calm through the appetizers. She talked about Maya's week, about a project at her own office, about a book she was reading. She had been fully present in a way that told me the conversation was coming rather than not. Because Julia's specific form of preparation was always to arrive fully at the smaller moments right before the larger one. Between the main course and dessert, she put her fork down. She looked at me directly. She said, 2 months is long enough. I need you to decide. I said I knew. She said, I want to tell you something before you answer because I need you to hear it before you think about me when you answer. She said that she had thought carefully about what she wanted, about what she was willing to do and what she wasn't, and she had arrived at something she needed me to know was real, not something she was saying to make the decision easier for me. She said, if you want to go, I will go with you. I mean that. My career can rebuild. Maya is young enough to adapt. I would rather be wherever you are than here without you chasing something you turned down. She said, and if you want to stay, I'm not disappointed. I mean that too. This city is our life. What we've built here is real. Staying isn't settling, not for me. She said, it's your choice. I mean that. I'm not angry, but I need your answer tonight. Then she smiled. I looked at her for a moment. I thought about what she had just offered me, the specific size of it. A woman telling her husband that she would dismantle her own professional life, uproot their child, leave the city she'd built herself in because she loved him enough to mean it when she said, wherever you are. Not as a sacrifice. She'd been clear about that as a preference. And I thought about what I'd been doing for 2 months. Turning the opportunity over and over, weighing it from every angle, running calculations about career trajectories and cost of living and school systems and whether Maya would adjust. I had been building a spreadsheet in my head for 60 days, and in the space of one sentence, I would rather be wherever you are than here without you. Every calculation collapsed into the only number that had always actually mattered. I stood up. She looked up at me, uncertain for the first time all evening. I said, I'm not going. She said, Liam. I said, I know what I'm saying. I've known for weeks. I just didn't know why I knew it until you said that. I sat back down, right there, before the dessert menus were even opened. She looked at me for a long moment, then she said, you were never going to take it. I said, no, I just needed to understand what I was staying for. We ordered dessert. She had the chocolate thing she always ordered when she'd said something difficult and it had gone well. I had coffee. She asked me why 2 months. If I'd already known, why had I needed 60 days? I told her the truth. I said the opportunity was real and I'd owed it honest consideration and I'd given it that. I'd looked at it clearly and carefully and from every angle because walking away from something real without looking at it clearly felt like the wrong kind of clarity. But I said the deeper answer was that I'd been waiting to understand something. I'd been waiting to understand what staying would mean. Not as a default, not as a choice by omission, not as giving something up, as choosing this, choosing us, choosing the specific life we'd built in a way that felt active rather than resigned. She had given me that in one sentence. I would rather be wherever you are. She said, I've been waiting 2 months to say that. I said, why didn't you say it sooner? She said, because you needed to decide without it. I didn't want to be the reason you stayed if you hadn't decided to stay yourself. She had given me 2 months of silence as a gift, the kind of space people give you when they love you enough to let you think rather than feel pressured. I told her that was an extraordinary thing to do. She said, you would have done it for me. She was right. I would have. I didn't take the position. I called them the following morning, thanked them, and closed the door cleanly. I've never regretted it, not once. I think about that dinner sometimes, about the 2 months I spent with a question I already knew the answer to, waiting for the right moment to understand what the answer actually meant. About a wife who sat across from a restaurant table and offered me everything she had and called it a choice. About the specific kind of love that says, I'll follow you anywhere and means it, but gives you the space to decide whether you want to be followed. I stood up before dessert arrived because the answer was already there, and sitting down with it felt like waiting for something that didn't need any more waiting. She'd said, it's your choice. She was right. It was. And choosing to stay, really choosing it, actively, finally felt like the first time I'd made that choice on purpose instead of just by being here. 11 years in, I chose her again before the dessert even arrived.